whole time I was recording and I didn't even know it. You might hear a little bit of AC today because it's kind of warm, but I'm wearing my sweater, so I don't want to change, so we just have it on low, okay? So how are you? What do you want to talk about today? Just kidding, it's my video. So we're going to talk about Florida stories in a spooky environment on my loud chair. So first and foremost, from my last video, I realized I was holding the mic way too close. I apologize for that. But yeah, in the last one I had said that I was going to talk about some Florida stories again, but I wanted to make it spooky, on par with the theme. And this is kind of like a mini series, I guess, because this is just what I've been in the mood for, because I'm doing so much behind the scenes stuff. I actually have some really cool stuff to show you guys next week, but for now, I want to talk about my abandoned stories, abandoned places I've been, and show you some pictures if I have them of the specific places that I'm talking about. I haven't got to go in a lot of years because there's a lot of people who make it not so great for everybody else, and you can very easily get arrested for doing this kind of thing. So I'm not telling anybody to go out exploring abandoned places or advocating for it. I haven't done it in a long time because it's pretty highly illegal here, and like every time I would go to a place, a cop would kind of like, it would either get torn down very shortly after, or like cops have been there a couple of times. I've never been arrested, but I'll just say that. Before that, I have a different setup. This is honestly just the other corner of my room. Here's my workstation and my gaming station, and there's my door and a shelf with a bunch of random crap on it. So isn't that interesting and exciting? Now, you can do whatever you want, but I do not recommend this unless you're prepared and you know what you're doing. In varying states, there are places that you can go and explore, have tour guides, abandoned places like that, but my main source of advice would be to never, ever, ever, ever go in anywhere that posts a no trespassing sign. If there's a no trespassing sign, you can get arrested. Trust me. Even if it looks like ain't nobody there or been there in like 15 years, cops like to keep eyes on that kind of thing, at least here in Florida. Like the middle of Utah or like the hills of West Virginia, you would probably get away with it, but that doesn't mean it's safe. It's not safe. It's very dangerous and reckless, and I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing, but I always went out protected, and I always went out with my husband. I never went to an abandoned place by myself. You do you. I'm not advocating for anything, so I will get into the stories. Just do like I always tell my cats and make good choices. They don't ever listen though. So I guess I will start with my most favorite place, which is usually counterproductive and you save that for last, but I want to talk about my favorite place. So you can look this place up. It is called the Putnam Hotel, and it was a hotel that was located in Central Florida for like 100 years, almost 100 years. And I've explored it a couple of times. I knew a lot of people who went to this hotel because there was a bar in it when I was younger, but I never went when it was open. I've only been in it abandoned. It's called the Hotel Putnam, and unfortunately a few years ago it didn't burn down, but hello cat hair. There's so much cat hair on this mic. Wow. It didn't burn down, but a lot of squatters stayed there, so a fire started in the top floor, and it kind of just destroyed the structural integrity of the building after so long of sitting and being exposed to the elements. I'll get into that more in a bit, but they had decided to tear it down, which was super tragic because it's a super interesting hotel and I have lots of interesting stuff to tell you about it. So yeah, it was torn down. So this hotel, a little bit of brief history, was not a chill place. When it was first made, it was supposed to be for like kind of more well-off people, and then through the 80s it became kind of known for a lot of drugs and a lot of prostitution, things like that. So it kind of became a little bit of a hole in the wall, right? And the original one burnt down too. Fun history fact about Florida, a lot of our major cities were all burned down like very shortly after they were built. I believe Orange City is one of them. DeLand, I don't know if it happened in Daytona. Lake Helen, these are all local areas to me. Not where I live though, so don't try to be sneaky. But yeah, there's a lot of history behind all of the wooden structures that we built burning down. So then we rebuilt a lot of the towns out of brick. So anyway, back to this hotel. This hotel, when it was in a shadier kind of timeline, there was a man and I believe his wife, and they stayed on the 6th floor because a lot of people here were residents, right? A lot of people didn't come and stay for a night. A lot of people lived here to the point where they were making apartments in the back, more like apartments. And so they got into a fight, and she was apparently pregnant. I don't know too much about the facts of this story. It is true. It really did happen. But I'm not sure their ages. I'm not sure if they were married or dating. I'm not sure if she was pregnant or had already had their child. But basically, I believe, now you can fact check me on this, I believe what happened was he pushed her out of the window, or he shot her and then did the same to himself. I could be wrong, but somebody definitely died on the 6th floor. Confirmed. True story, very tragic. Before I was born though. So there's a little bit of the paranormal, I guess, history behind it, and very tragic. And then some years later, probably about, I want to say 2013, it shut down, but it honestly could have shut down in like 2010, around that time. So it shut down, and then I think shortly after the bar inside shut down. It was called JR's Saloon. And that's where a lot of the teens used to go, but not me, because I was not a country girl. So my experience with it is I used to live right behind this place, right? Like right behind it. And I don't live there anymore, so don't try to be creepy. There's a place downtown DeLand. It's very historic, lots of old houses. I have another one to tell you about actually here shortly, but lots of old houses. And I loved it there. I love like old historic. I lived in a house that was 100 years old. It had like original glass windows. It had a butler door and a dinner bell. It was really, really cool. So this was literally like about 4 houses down from that hotel, the parking lot behind it. And then there was a big theater, very old theater, the Athens Theater. Never been in there either. But I used to go there to get Wi-Fi when I was broke and didn't have any Wi-Fi and was living with my abusive ex-boyfriend. So I would go walk down there, and the theater had Wi-Fi, so I would sit there on my phone and use the Wi-Fi. And yeah, so that was my first experience with it. But then when I left that dude and then am now with my husband, we spent a lot of time exploring DeLand, downtown specifically, and decided one day that we were going to try to get in there. I think there were no trespassing signs, but honestly, in this area, it's very busy, so people could have stolen them. They could have been taken down. Right behind that theater, they used to throw out like the coolest props, and I could never bring them home because they were so massive, like for stages. So one day we eventually just decided, well, we'll try to get in. Like, let's explore around outside. That's usually how it happens. You are like, oh, I'll just go look around and spot what's going on here or there or whatever, like see how the outside is, and then maybe if I can get in, then I will. And so we went around the back. I might show you some pictures here. There's lots of pictures that I have because I love this place, and it's gone now, so we didn't see a way in, so we explored the apartments in the back, kind of half-assed abandoned apartment project. It was the weirdest building with just all these support beams inside and nothing else. No furniture, no signs of life. It was just an abandoned construction project, completely finished outside, but barren, nothing but poles inside. So we're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay. So then we're looking at the back, kind of, there's like a back lobby area, and we were looking at that, and all those doors were locked. So we're like, shoot. And we see an open window. To be totally honest with you, I might actually just save my other stories for a continuation of this series and then just stick to this one, because I just saw the time and I still have so much to tell you about this one place. So I think I will stick it to this one hotel for now because of time, because I don't want to make this video too long. I got stuff I gotta do. I got music to work on in my very professional setup. So we found an open window, and obviously we crawled through it because that's what you do. I was probably like 25, 26. It was pretty early on in our relationship. So we crawled in through the good old window, and it was in this office, right? It was like copiers, copy paper everywhere, nothing interesting. So right behind that room though was like the key desk, and no, that wasn't the key desk, it was a vault. They had a bank vault in there, and it was crazy. It had this massive steel door. I didn't get a picture of it, and I don't know why, but it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in an abandoned place, or in general. It was just a vault, like a big ass vault right behind like where the copy machine and the coffee and stuff like that would be at a business. So that was crazy. And we looked through there wasn't any money or anything. They used it for like paperwork and just like residents, probably maybe leases with residents. I'm not very sure. We went to JR's, which was pretty cool. It was very dark. The club was painted black, and then there were no lights on in there and no windows, like they were blacked out, so it was super dark in there. They had fucking piles of furniture everywhere, just piled and piled and piled up in this area because it was huge. It was like a huge dance, like country dance kind of club, like where you'd probably go to square dance on Friday nights kind of thing. So there was all this furniture and, you know, scribbles, some random things, trash. There was a couch. Clearly people had hung out there, but it was very hot and like kind of muggy and like stuffy in there. So we kind of didn't spend too much time in there. Also this, you know, asbestos, things like that. The weirdest things are left behind in abandoned places, right? So there was a piano, and we played that, and that was so creepy, and I wanted to take that piano home so bad because I was like, I know it's just gonna rot here, and I felt so bad leaving it there because it was so cool, just this abandoned piano in this dark nightclub, this dark club in the bottom of a hotel. It was very cool. And there were like murals on wood in the bathroom. It was really, really cool place, and it's a shame to know that like that all just got torn down. I don't think they even took anything out. If they did, they just threw it in the dumpsters. Checked that out for a bit, you know, got a little bored. And my stories might run into each other because I've been there, I believe, 2 or 3 times. And a different interesting instance happened every single time. I will tell you about the one time. Yes, okay, the first time we went. This was the first time. We did not go into the basement, which was directly near the club, because there was a really weird smell. First of all, really weird smell. We kept smelling like coffee and like things like that, which happens in old buildings. Can't really explain it, don't know if it's paranormal, but we also smelled a not so great smell, but I wouldn't say a dead body smell. I've smelled dead stuff and it wasn't really like that, but it was kind of like garbage. And we noticed drag marks because we are at this point we're in the entryway, and we noticed drag marks that looked like a wet bag had been like dragged all the way downstairs, dirt and water smudges. So we're like, oh shit, the last thing that we ever want to do is disturb any homeless people, squatters, anything like that. 1, it's dangerous. 2, they're just trying to do their own thing, and I'm not really coming here to bother them. I'm just here to explore. So we're like, we're gonna avoid that. checked out the front desk. There was this area with like taxidermy. If I have the picture, I'll show it here. Like like a bunch of different taxidermy animals in a glass display. That was super creepy. So we started going up and exploring, and this was a 6th floor plus a 2 top floors, so technically 8, but the hotel ended on the 6th floor. Didn't really see anything on the 1st floor. Might be like maybe some pictures or something, not really anything. The 2nd floor, kind of more squatter nests of like lots of garbage. Usually a squatter nest is just like something to sleep on, some clothes, some garbage, maybe like magazines or books or stuff like that. Nothing really that you ever want to take or like mess with, because if somebody is staying there, like that's their stuff. One thing that was so creepy is a mattress with nothing on it but a box of donuts open, and then a huge trail of ants like coming out of it. I should paint that or something one day. It was so creepy, and it's an image that just stuck in my head. It was a full like box of Krispy Kreme donuts, not like a big box, like a little to-go container full of Krispy Kreme donuts, not eaten, like 6 donuts and then just ants. And I was like, this is kind of creepy. And they mapped out the hotel with graffiti, so like one room was called the door room because when they were remodeling the hotel, they just took and like put all of the doors from a floor in one room and silly stuff like that. We didn't encounter anybody there. 3rd floor was really cool because there's this center room. It's like the big bougie room, the suite, if you will, and people had graffitied all over a wall. There was a huge window, balconies. It was really cool, and people had graffitied all over the wall. I'll show you that some of that here. Yes, I also graffitied on the wall. Yes, my husband did too. There were literally like dozens of graffitis, so I would not advise defacing abandoned properties when you go. That is another crime that is separate from trespassing. But I like to think that I just didn't kind of know any better, and I kind of justified it. I would probably take it back if I went to a place like that now. I probably wouldn't do the same, but I justified it to myself because I was like, well, the whole entire wall is covered in graffiti. It literally says like "get out" in big blood red letters here, and then a bunch of drawings all over it, and we wanted to contribute, so that was pretty much why we did that. And that was pretty much all that was in that room. We stopped in there, we hung out for a bit. It was pretty interesting. Very hot summer day, like excruciatingly hot. We go up to the 4th floor. Nothing really crazy on the 4th floor. Go up to the 5th floor. The 5th floor is the bird floor. And let me tell you about the bird floor, because this is one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. At some point in time, all of the windows on this floor were left open, or at least enough windows to where birds had taken over. Pigeons, thousands of pigeons. They weren't in there when we were in there, but it was very clear that this place, literally the entire floor, became a nest for birds, like pigeons. There was pigeon shit everywhere. There were dead pigeons, a lot of dead pigeons all over the place, and just they nested in open fridges, and they nested on windowsills, and they nested on the floor. Like, this was an entire floor of a massive hotel filled with birds. I would have loved to see what that looked like, because there were no more birds when we were there. And that was just one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. Pretty much nobody had been squatting up there. Again, we had found no squatters, but we saw a lot of proof of squatters, recent squatters, and they'd often take up like one room. They'd find one big room and then have their whole hangout spot there. And pretty typical, but we tried, like, we made sure nobody was there, and we tried to be very respectful and not touch anyone's things, and just like, oh, this is like a resided in room. We're not sure when they were here, when they left. So there was one room there that was like pretty fully decked out, like lived in. Pepsi's on the counter, pizza boxes, furniture, clothes. So we tried to leave that room alone and really explore the empty rooms and make sure to make, like, you know, if you're here, like when we would hear something or anything, just try to be like, we're here and we're not bothering anybody, we'll leave. If you want us to leave, please just tell us to leave. We're not here to disturb. Nothing ever happened like that. So never encountered a squatter in that place. And I can't say yet because it's gone now. But we just didn't want to be disrespectful, so we tried to not bother anyone's shit in the case that they were coming back. And it was really cool because I think it was kids. Staying there. It seemed very kid heavy. They wrote messages to each other on the walls. So I remember one person they called Red, and then Red would be like, Red's room, please don't come take my stuff, and then other people would leave messages to each other. It was quite interesting, and I thought that was cool. But I just imagine being in there at night, which is a little bit of foreshadowing. Oh my god, have I been studying up on storytelling? Anyway, what was I on? The 5th floor? Yeah. We ventured to the 6th floor, and it was getting kind of dark, a little dusky. And we were like, okay, we need to make sure to go soon because we do not want to navigate the halls of this creepy ass hotel in the dark. So we're like, okay, we'll explore the 6th floor and then go from there. 6th floor, totally different layout than any other floor. All the other floors were the same. 6th floor, completely different layout, narrow ass hallways, bad vibes. This was before I knew the guy killed his wife. Because obviously I researched it, went back, learned more about it. Bad vibes before I ever knew a guy killed his wife in there, but it certainly felt like a guy killed his wife in there. So that was very creepy. We didn't really see anything, but we did notice that there were 2 other floors. I just got a bad feeling there, you know? So we noticed the 2 other floors, went up to the top, and it's this glass, almost like a greenhouse style on the top of this hotel. Absolutely stunning. They kept a lot of decoratives up there, so we played around with, there was like a big throne, and we sat on it and took pictures. A lot of it was damaged by pigeons, so we tried not to touch all of the pigeon shit everywhere. But it was fun. It was very open. It didn't feel creepy. So we were like, oh, this is really cool. That's where the fire started. Somebody made a fire there in that room, and it burned that whole top floor, the whole top aviary kind of greenhouse style floor was destroyed, and that's why they tore it down. Devastating. It was really beautiful at sunset, so we watched the sunset, and then by the time we wanted to check out the attic, it was pretty dark. I get up to the attic, narrowest stairs we ever saw. One stairway led to a generator, which was really cool, and then another stairway led to the attic where they had more decorations, Halloween stuff, another pigeon epicenter. Lots of pigeons had lived there. If you weren't careful, you were stepping on dead pigeons. And the craziest thing was the window that I saw that said, "Are you happy? No? Then jump." And I was like, oh, that's a little dark. It was getting pretty dark at that time. I'm gonna segue and tell you one of the times that, I think it was the second time that we went up there, we didn't check out the roof. It was either the first or the second, but it was before the sun went down, so I think it was the second, because that was way early in the day. We went to check out the roof. We went through that attic area that I was talking about, and the door slammed behind my husband, and we were literally like, oh my god, we're gonna have to call the police on ourselves to get out of here. There was not a chance we were touching those fire escapes. There were fire escapes that went down. No, not a chance. Not a chance in hell. So we were like, we're gonna have to call the police. And I go up to the door and I just pull on it, and thank God it was also broken. So we did not have to call the cops. So yeah, that happened. I'm not sure when though, but yeah, that was utterly just made my heart stop. I was like, I'm gonna get arrested because we locked ourselves on the roof of an abandoned hotel. We're not supposed to be here. I had seen people up there before. I had seen kids in there, so I think it was definitely commonplace for a lot of people to be in there. Shocked I did not run into anybody. Let's get back to the spooky nighttime stories. So it's dark and we're like, we need to head down, and we need to head down fast because dark time is dangerous time. Homeless people, God only knows what else. Not that homeless people are bad, but it's not great to run into one in their place of residence in the middle of the night. So we're like, okay, we need to get out of here quietly and quickly. So we know how to navigate because we had mapped where the stairs were, and it was pretty much like a circle around, loop, walk, circle around, loop, walk, circle around, loop, walk. So it was very easy to remember, and obviously ain't no work in elevators. So we get to work going, and there's 2 sets of stairs. So we had gone down the other stairs that were on the other side, like 2 sides of the hotel, and basically you go up one way, you go down the other, whatever, it doesn't matter. One of the stairways that we went in, we have our cell phones as lights, and these are like, you open it, it's not just like an open stairway. You open a door, a big metal swinging door, you close it behind you, you walk down, and then you open another door and close it. It's its own enclosed space. That's how like apartments do it and stuff. I guess not to disturb people or whatever, but we're walking down the staircase, we turn the corner, and what is facing the corner wall? What, might you ask? A little child, a small, like toddler-sized child, is facing the wall. And for literally like a second, my husband and I were both the most terrified we've ever been, until we realized it was one of those dummies that old people put, I don't know, they're creepy to me now, but old people put them against a wall, and it's a little kid like standing in a corner. I'll try to show you a picture if I find one. Very creepy to start with because they don't have any faces, but that was there at like 9 o'clock at night in the middle of the bowels of an abandoned hotel, facing a corner in a dark stairway. It was one of the like the scariest thing I'd ever seen for like 2 seconds, and then I was like, oh, obviously somebody put this here to be a little troll, little spooky goblin, little spookster, so it wasn't a big deal after that. We got all the way down without being possessed by the spooky, creepy doll boy, and we just kind of left out that door. And that was pretty much the telltale of the first time I went. And before I go, I will tell you what happened the second time I went, because I think it is very relevant and very, very scary for a different reason. So my husband just told me he's coming back with coffee, so I'm gonna be gaming all night. The second time we went in, and I don't know when, this is a short story about it. So we went in, looking around, taking pictures, doing whatever, and we spotted something on the floor, and that freaked me out, obviously, because I immediately knew what it was, and it was dried blood. Droplets, just droplets, but pretty big droplets. My cat is attacking my curtain. Droplets of blood. And had it been more blood, we probably would have called the cops. Obviously, that would have, like, we could have left an anonymous tip or something. But I was like, oh, it looks like somebody cut themselves pretty bad. And it was dried. It was dried to, like, black, mostly black around the edges, but maybe still a little wet inside. Obviously, I'm not gonna touch that. So we're like, hey, maybe this is very white of me. This is very white of me and my husband. But again, maybe I could chalk it up to us not knowing any better, or maybe I can just chalk it up to us being stupid. But we were basically like, okay, let's check the area and make sure there's nobody hurt here. I guess maybe we were prepared. Maybe I had pepper spray. I don't know. Maybe we just wanted to help somebody, make sure somebody wasn't bleeding out, or God only knows, maybe morbid curiosity. But we definitely did follow the trail of blood droplets again. If I could describe, I'd say the biggest one was probably like the shape of a dime or like the end of your thumb, you know, a decent amount, but not life-threatening. So we're like following these droplets, seeing little bits here and there up the stairs or whatever. So we keep following, and it's getting a little bit less, you know, it's here and there, but we can still tell where it is. All the carpet's tan and stuff, so it's easy to spot. We go up the first floor, and we follow it, we go up the second floor, and then we end up to the third floor, right? That's where the suite room is, and it goes all the way to the suite room, and then we find where the blood came from. Thankfully, again, nobody was in there, but what we found was that somebody had climbed the balcony and busted one of those balcony windows. I think there was grating outside. You could like climb it, you know, where vines like grow up. And they busted the window and they cut themselves like hard. It was very clear that they fucked their shit up, getting through. And we must have been following the trail backwards, and they were going out because, again, probably some kid. I felt real bad because that kid was not, you know, doing all right. I mean, he was all right, obviously, but definitely like broke in, cut themselves on the glass where you could see, and then it wasn't too much of a bad scene, though. It was just kind of like a bit of blood on the glass, a bit on the windowsill, and then the droplets going down. So I think basically they broke in the window, and then we're like, oh shit, I cut myself. I don't have anything on me. I need to get out of here. I'm not going the way I just came because I cut myself. And then they walked downstairs and walked out the door. I never looked outside for the blood, but the blood we found near the entrance and then followed it up to the third floor. So I was like, damn, that is crazy. And I don't know if that makes me a bad person. I mean, I remember at the time having the intentions of helping somebody if they needed it, or calling the cops regardless of it getting me in trouble, things like that. I think it was a mixture of morbid curiosity and like, what is going on here? You know, you do weird things when you're in weird situations. I would never recommend that. I would recommend, if you find blood on a floor in an abandoned place, probably call the police and leave an anonymous tip if you're that scared of getting in trouble. Don't do what I did. This was a very long time ago, and just to remind you, I don't do this anymore. As much as I would love to, and as much as I will explore legal abandoned places, there have been too many stories about people getting arrested, cops following people, places getting torn down, just things happening. I do have more stories. I have a lot more stories, unfortunately, but it's been many years. I miss it very much. Safety comes first, always. So just remember that if you're going to do what I did, be careful. So on that note, I didn't expect this video to just be the story about that one place, but I guess that leaves room for more content in the future. I hope that you liked my spooky Florida story. I hope that you look up the hotel. It's an amazing place, one of my favorite places in the world. R.I.P. It is dead and gone. And I will definitely do more of these if you like them. I have lots and lots. It used to be my main hobby. So on another note, if you like my stuff and want to see more of my stuff, more places, you can find me on SoundCloud. There's going to be a lot of stuff there soon. Obviously, you know what's going on. You can find me on Instagram. I rarely post there. You can find me on Tumblr. I post there and then I take breaks. And you can find me on Patreon. Most of my stuff is free there. We have a couple of friends there. Most of my stuff is free, but I do have some stuff if you want to be supportive. It all goes to making my album, which I talk about in every video at this point, but that's going super fun. I'm actually making a video for Patreon about that, and I'll probably make it free, but just on Patreon, and that's going to be tomorrow. So if you want to have updates about that, check that out. Again, it will be free, So no harm in checking it out. But I love you guys. And should I get a new catchphrase? What should my new catchphrase be? Stay swampy. Stay swampy. That's the worst thing I've ever said. Okay, love you. Bye.